Good morning, everybody. Today is October 5th. It is the 6th weekend of my garden here at the ranch in South Texas. It is a rather nice day outside. It's the first day in South Texas that feels somewhat like fall, and that is because it is noontime right now and it is only 88 degrees. That's pretty fantastic for South Texas. We have had days here this summer that have been 110 degrees with heat indexes well in the one teens. And it has taken all of September and into October for it to finally start cooling off because we have been in the upper 90s all of September. And now that we're here in October, I don't know if this is a northern. I believe it is. I haven't checked the weather, but possibly something blew through last night. I know there's another northern that's supposed to get us down into the lower 80s, possibly with highs at like the 70s for a day or so, coming later this week. But I believe this is our first cooling off. There's, as with all gardens, good news and bad news. As you can see, some plants are coming up great. You can also see that there's some places, like this is supposed to be a row of various types of greens, where nothing is happening, or if it did happen, which I'll get to that in a minute, it was destroyed. Everybody say good morning to Bosco. Bosco, say morning. Okay, so as I said here, we had originally planted greens here. There was Swiss chard and I believe collards, and I don't remember what I planted down here at the end. I'd have to look, but everything that I had planted in this row seems to have not come up at all. We do have some little tiny weeds growing, and I'll probably clear those out with a hoe. Probably not this weekend, maybe next weekend, and start putting some winter crops in here. I did want to do that this weekend, but it is not going to happen because we have other obligations, so maybe next weekend. In this row, so this is our row of beans. Down at this end, we have some green beans. They seem to have come up fairly well. There are some spots where, it seems, because I did plant a kind of a double row here, and you can see the double row down there at the end, and then it kind of narrows out to just one plant, one plant, one plant. So, either things got eaten, things didn't come up, or quite possibly with all the rain we've been having and the rain that we had right after I planted, some things just got washed away. Then about here in the middle, where you can kind of see that stick, I switched out to yellow beans, and that's what we have coming up here. You will see that some of the plants do have quite a bit of what is worm damage, and I've gone through and picked off all the worms that I could see, and I did get some BT organic pesticide for worms specifically that I ordered. It came in this week. Unfortunately, even though I was here the day it came in, I got in too late from Austin for a work meeting, and I was not able to get out here and get it done. It was super late at night, and I waited to do it until this weekend, and well, we'll get to that, but there was some negative effects to me not spraying as soon as I should have. But nonetheless, some things are still here and healthy. We have cucumbers here, a whole row of cucumbers, two different types, I believe. I don't remember what kind, down here. And then these seem to be doing really well. I mean, they're really getting big. The leaves are getting quite large already, and they're very thick. And then down here we have another type, which is a little more sparse, but still doing pretty well. So over here we have, I believe these were the smooth skin yellow squash. There's only 4 of those planted here because I only had a few seeds left. And then right in here we have okra. Those have been hit pretty hard this week by the worms. I picked a lot of worms off of these. Again, everything will be sprayed later this evening when the sun goes down some with BT. And whatever I planted in here did not do well. And then down here we actually have, were they pinto beans? I believe they were pinto beans. I don't think these are black eyeds, but I'll have to double check on that. And these were some of the older seeds that I had. Didn't have a whole lot of them, but what I did have I planted there, and they came up okay. They are being hit pretty hard as well by the worms. And then right down here we have what I believe is some type of winter squash. That is either a singular pumpkin, which I'll have to check what I planted where, or it is some type of winter squash. But it is the only one that came up, and I planted several seeds in this area. I was going to thin them out to 1 or 2, and only 1 came up, so that is what it is. And then on this row, the row that looks probably the most successful, is all of the summer squash. We have some zucchini squash and also some yellow crookneck squash, but these were the bumpy skin variety. So over here, as you all know, I had planted some old corn in this area. That did not come up at all. I had planted some new fresh corn seed down here. They came up. They were looking beautiful. Last weekend I discovered there were worms. I went through, picked them all off. They had already done quite a bit of damage, and I wasn't sure if the little plants were going to come back up, and it turns out they did not keep growing. They all pretty much died off, which is pretty sad because I had a pretty good rate of corn and they were destroyed in 1 week. Again, I picked the worms off them last week and they looked pretty bad. They looked pretty bad, like this guy down here. And I was hoping they would keep growing. They did have a little bit longer leaves. Those have all withered away and become absolutely nothing. So the corn is not going to happen for us at all this year. And I just feel like it's too late at this point to get any more corn in the ground. So I'll be planting some winter crops in this area. But on a positive note, the fence that we put up last weekend still stands. And, ooh, ya bee, excuse me. Fence still stands. It's holding up pretty well. No signs of rabbits, which is great. No signs of Bosco having been in the garden. If you see little dug up spots in the garden like that, that was me pulling weeds. But yeah, like I said, some positive news, some not so positive news. But as with all things, have to have patience and persistence. I do know that if I was here more often and tending to the garden every day like a good gardener should, this would be in a lot better shape. I would have caught the worms on everything, especially the corn, sooner. And I definitely would have been able to do something about it sooner and hopefully have saved more of the corn. But that just wasn't in the cards. Again, I live about an hour and a half north of here. So I only come down on the weekends. My father turns on the sprinkler a couple times a week for me so that the garden can stay watered. Luckily, he hasn't had to do that too much because we've been getting little rain showers out here in deep South Texas, scattered, but daily. And so everything's been getting watered pretty consistently by the heavens, and we haven't had to use the sprinkler too much, but it is there and it's ready to go. He is older and isn't able to individually water each row, which is why I don't have furrows going for watering. The best he can do is turn the sprinkler on and off for me, and I just leave it in the same spot for him. Not the best way probably to get water, but as you can see, it is working, and I do appreciate him greatly for that. But all the other garden duties he cannot do, and I wouldn't even ask him to do. I live in an apartment complex, and even though I do have a yard and have gardened in that yard before, I plan on leaving that apartment within the next year, and I'm not really trying to build more raised beds or anything of that nature. I mostly just have potted plants in that yard. So the only in-ground gardening I get to do is here at the ranch, and I am only here on the weekends. Very rarely, like this week, I do get to come down in the middle of the week, but that's just to pick things up here and there. That happens maybe once a month or every other month that I'm here during the middle of the week for an evening. Otherwise, I'm just here on the weekends, and I'll be here on Fridays and Saturdays, and unless it's a 3-day weekend, I leave on Sunday. So I'm very limited into what I can do here at the garden, and I am doing this mostly to help, mostly just for relaxation on the weekends from a long work week, but also to just bring some fresh produce into the house here for my family out at the ranch, for my parents and my brother when he comes down, and of course for me and my boyfriend and his family who also lives in this community here in South Texas, so we can, just give some fresh vegetables to our family. But again, mostly just for my relaxation on the weekends. And it is enjoyable, even when I get little disappointments like the corn. It's still, as you guys know, always fun. So again, mostly positives, a little bit of negatives with the corn, but I shall shrug that off and we will just try again next year. There's always tomorrow, right? Anyway, you guys have a nice day. Thank you for watching. See you next time.